The crowd was buzzing long before the next contestant even walked on stage. The lights of Ireland's Got Talent 2025 shimmered over the audience as whispers filled the air. Everyone had seen singers before, some good, some forgettable, and some truly amazing. But no one expected what was about to happen next. Because in just a few minutes, a quiet Filipino man would walk onto that stage and make Simon Cowell himself speechless. His name would become a story people couldn't stop talking about. He would sing better than anyone had dared to imagine, better than Elvis himself. The camera panned to Simon Cowell, who looked as sharp and skeptical as ever. He leaned back in his chair, his trademark half-smile resting on his lips. "All right," he said softly to the other judges, "let's see what this one's got." The stage door opened. Out stepped a man, maybe in his late 20s, wearing a simple white shirt, jeans, and slightly worn sneakers. No glitter, no entourage, no fancy introduction. Just a microphone waiting for him and a dream that had carried him across oceans. He looked around nervously, his eyes wide under the bright stage lights. The host asked gently, "What's your name, and where are you from?" He smiled shyly. "My name is Arnel. I'm from the Philippines," he said, his accent soft but proud. The crowd gave him a polite round of applause. Someone in the audience cheered, "Mabuhay." And he smiled gratefully. Simon nodded. "All right, Arnel from the Philippines. What are you going to sing for us tonight?" He hesitated for just a moment, then said quietly, "I'm going to sing Can't Help Falling in Love, by Elvis Presley." The audience murmured. A few people gasped, others smiled knowingly. Simon raised an eyebrow. "That's a big song," he said. "Elvis is, well, Elvis." Arnel nodded. "Yes, sir," he said softly, "but Elvis, he's the reason I started singing." There was a small pause. The stage fell silent. The lights dimmed to a soft blue. The music began, gentle, nostalgic, the kind of melody that instantly stirs emotion. And then, Arnel began to sing. The first line floated out so softly, it felt like a whisper made of silk. "Wise men say, only fools rush in." The sound was pure, haunting, and effortless. His voice carried an emotion that didn't just fill the stage, it filled hearts. The tone, the control, the way he let every word breathe, it wasn't an imitation. It wasn't a performance. It was something real, something that felt like the soul of Elvis had found a new home. Simon's eyes lifted almost immediately. He wasn't smiling now, he was listening, deeply. Amanda, the other judge, leaned forward, her mouth slightly open. The audience, who just moments ago had been whispering and rustling, now sat frozen, drawn into every note. As Arnel continued, the room seemed to fade around him. The screen showed flashes of his hands trembling slightly, the microphone shaking just a bit, but his voice never wavered. It was tender, strong, and filled with emotion. When he reached the chorus, something happened. He closed his eyes, pressed his hand to his chest, and sang, "Take my hand, take my whole life too." His voice cracked, not from mistake, but from feeling. By the time he hit the final, "For I Can't Help Falling in Love with You," the audience erupted. People were on their feet. Some clapped, some whistled, and a few even wiped tears from their eyes. Simon Cowell blinked slowly. For a moment, he didn't say a word. He just looked at Arnel, his lips pressed together, trying to find the right thing to say. Finally, he leaned forward. "You know," he began, "I've heard thousands of people try to sing Elvis. Some try to copy him, some destroy the song completely." He paused, then smiled, genuinely. "But what you just did, you didn't copy him. You honored him, and somehow, you made it yours." The audience cheered again, louder this time. Arnel smiled, tears forming in his eyes. "Thank you, sir," he said softly, almost whispering. Amanda spoke next. "There's something so pure about you," she said. "You stood there with nothing but your voice, and somehow, you gave us everything." The third judge nodded. "It's rare to hear a voice that carries that much emotion. I don't know how you did it, but it felt like Elvis was smiling down from heaven." Simon turned to the audience. "Do you agree?" he asked. The entire auditorium roared in response. But the real story didn't start on that stage. It started years before, thousands of miles away, in a small town in the Philippines. Arnel had grown up in a neighborhood where music was everywhere, small radios playing love songs, kids singing karaoke in the streets, mothers humming while cooking rice. His father worked as a tricycle driver, earning just enough to feed the family. His mother had passed away when he was only 10. That loss became the silent echo behind every song he sang. As a boy, he would listen to old tapes his mother left behind, songs by Elvis, the Beatles, and Whitney Houston. But Elvis was different. His voice, Arnel used to say, was like magic. It could make you smile and cry at the same time. He would sing along quietly, pretending his mother could still hear him. Music became his way of speaking to her. When he was 16, he started singing in small cafés, earning just enough to buy rice and sometimes a bit of milk for his younger sister. He never complained. Every night, he'd stand on stage in front of a few tables in a flickering light, singing Elvis songs to people who barely noticed. But one night, something changed. A tourist visiting from Dublin recorded his performance on a phone and uploaded it online. It didn't go viral instantly, but it reached the right eyes. Someone from the production team of Ireland's Got Talent saw it and sent him an email. At first, he thought it was a scam, but when they called and offered him an audition slot, he realized it was real. Arnel sold his old guitar, borrowed money from friends, and took the longest journey of his life, from Manila to Dublin. It was his first time on a plane. He was terrified, but also full of hope. When he landed, he walked into the audition room with only a small backpack, a pair of shoes, and one dream, to sing on that stage. Now, standing in front of Simon Cowell, hearing the applause of strangers, he couldn't believe this was happening. The show cut to a backstage interview after his performance. The host asked, "Arnel, what's going through your mind right now?" He laughed softly, tears still in his eyes. "I don't know," he said. "I just wanted to sing for my mother, she loved Elvis. I hope she heard me." That single line broke the internet. Clips of his audition spread across social media like wildfire. The Filipino Elvis, fans called him. Others said, he didn't just sing it, he lived it. Within 24 hours, the audition clip had 12 million views. By the next week, it hit 50 million. But the journey wasn't over. A few weeks later, Arnel returned to the stage for the semifinals. This time, he chose to sing, "If I Can Dream," another Elvis classic. When the music started, the audience was already holding their breath. The song was harder, bigger, filled with passion and hope. And once again, he didn't disappoint. His voice soared through the theater like thunder wrapped in velvet. He sang with such conviction that Simon himself stood up halfway through the performance. By the end, there wasn't a single person sitting. Simon walked up to the stage, something he rarely did. He looked Arnel in the eye and said, "You have something you can't buy. Heart, you're not just a good singer, you're a storyteller. And I think Elvis would have loved you." The golden buzzer moment didn't come from Simon, it came from Amanda, who slammed the button with tears in her eyes. Gold confetti rained down as Arnel dropped to his knees, crying and laughing at the same time. The audience screamed, the music swelled, and for a moment, the entire world watched a dream come true. That night, news outlets across Ireland and the Philippines ran the same headline: Filipino singer stuns Simon Cowell, better than Elvis. In interviews, Simon was asked repeatedly if he really believed that. He simply smiled and said, "He sings like Elvis would have if he were alive today." The finals came soon after. Arnel stood backstage, his hands trembling again. The host asked him how he felt. "I'm scared," he said honestly. "But I'm also thankful. No matter what happens, I already won. I made my country proud. I made my mother proud." When he walked on stage that night, the crowd chanted his name. Thousands of people stood holding little Philippine flags. This time, he sang an original song, a tribute to his late mother called, "A Song for Her." It was a mix of soft English lyrics and Tagalog lines that spoke about love, loss, and hope. He poured every memory, every hardship, every moment of his journey into that song. And when he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Even Simon turned away for a second, blinking hard. When the lights came up, the judges stood again. Amanda said, "That song, it wasn't just music. It was your heart on fire." Simon nodded. "You know, I've seen many great singers in my life, but there's something about your voice that's pure. You remind people why music exists in the first place, to feel something." Arnel bowed his head, overwhelmed. The next day, social media exploded again. Fans voted in record numbers. And when the final results came, the world held its breath. And the winner of Ireland's Got Talent 2025 is, the host paused dramatically, Arnel from the Philippines. The arena erupted. Gold confetti filled the air once again. Arnel covered his face with his hands, crying uncontrollably as his fellow contestants hugged him. Simon walked onto the stage and shook his hand. "You did it," he said quietly. "You made everyone believe again." That single sentence summed up everything. In the weeks that followed, Arnel's life changed completely. He was invited to sing on international shows, featured in magazines, and even received an offer to record an Elvis tribute album, with proceeds going to a charity for children in need. But when asked what he would do first, he said, "I want to go home." He flew back to the Philippines and returned to the same small house where it had all begun. His sister ran to him crying, clutching his old karaoke microphone. They stood together in their tiny yard, surrounded by neighbors, as Arnel sang once more, this time not for fame, but for love. He looked up at the sky as he sang the same song that started it all. Wise men say, only fools rush in. The camera zoomed in on his face, tears shining under the soft glow of the sunset. Then, the shot faded to Simon Cowell sitting in his office, watching the clip again. He smiled quietly, his eyes soft. "He really does sing better than Elvis," he whispered. The video ended with Arnel's voice echoing one last time, "For I can't help falling in love with you." The screen faded to black. Months later, people were still talking about that performance. It wasn't just about the music, it was about the courage, the faith, the love behind it. Arnel became a symbol of hope for dreamers everywhere. He once said in an interview, "You don't have to be rich to dream. You just have to believe that your voice matters." And that's exactly what he proved, on the biggest stage in the world. The story of the Filipino who sang better than Elvis wasn't about competition. It was about heart. It was about a boy who refused to give up, who sang to remember, to heal, and to honor love. And though years may pass and new talents will rise, people will always remember the night when Simon Cowell was left speechless, not by fame, not by power, but by the voice of a humble man who sang with his soul. Because sometimes, it's not about who came first. It's about who reminds the world why we listen. As the credits roll, the echo of his song plays again in the background. Take my hand, take my whole life too. And somewhere, beyond the stars, a mother smiles, listening to her son sing.